Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to another Telling It Like It Is after a 4 or 5 week break. Refreshing, getting away, going to the lake, hanging out with family, floating the boat, just chilling. I am excited to be back. Mike and I had a great conversation before here, reminiscing about our summer and a lot of things that we like to do. But you know what? We're here. And again, Founders Coffee is still running. It runs all years. Come out next Tuesday, 7:30 a.m. at Red's Diner in Kensington. But you know what? When I've got someone like Mike here, I want to get into it. So let's have a discussion. Mike, the CEO of Alberta Innovates, how are you today?
I'm great. Yes, Jade. Jade and I just did have a great conversation about Saskatchewan and Manitoba holidays. Not everyone would consider that a holiday, but for the two of us, going home is an important part of summer. So I'm feeling refreshed from my spending time with my family in Manitoba and hanging out with my kids and a new grandchild. So that popped out in August. So no, life is good with me.
Life is good. Life is good. Life is better when you're back in Manitoba and Saskatchewan. I'm sure Albertans will disagree with us, but you know what? We could have a conversation over a Crown Royal or something and see and hash that out.
Yeah.
So I want to get it. You and I have actually started to get to know each other over the last year and change, and obviously I'm a huge supporter of Alberta Innovates. Of what Minister Glubish and Nate, what you guys are doing and what have you done and the changes that you were making. And, our conversations while you were interim CEO, and there was nobody in the province of Alberta happier than I was when you accepted and they took that interim tag off. And I'm excited about what's next for Alberta Innovates, but I want people to get to know you a little bit. So why don't you share a little bit about your past and why you accepted the interim and then why you turned it into a full-time?
Yeah, thanks, Jay. Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me this morning. It's fun to do this, and I'll just say that it's been fun getting to know you over the last year and a bit, and so and I know that will continue. So I as I said earlier, grew up in Manitoba and did some education there. University of Manitoba Bison, played football and ran track at the university, and so I'm certainly a sport guy. But along the way, got a couple of degrees, one at the U of A and then a PhD at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. And that launched me into an academic and research career. And so my career in academia was kind of in three parts. A third at the University of Manitoba, a third at the University of Alberta, and a third at the University of Lethbridge. And along that path, I was a research director of an institute at the University of Manitoba. I was a dean at the U of A and oversaw health sciences. And then at the University of Lethbridge, I was president for 13 years. And during all that time, in particular in Alberta, which was about 25 years, I guess, I actually had lots of engagement with Alberta Innovates and its predecessors. Of course, the entity has changed names over the years, but the ethos of Alberta Innovates has been very much part of Alberta, well, since all the way back to 1921. And so when I was done at the University of Lethbridge and was kind of minding my own business and doing some consulting and having some fun, I was asked, fairly suddenly to take over as interim CEO at Alberta Innovates. There was a transition that was undertaken by the minister and the board, and so I had actually just come onto the board, and so I agreed to do so, and agreed to do it for a year, and spent a lot of time in that year really getting to know the ecosystem that I didn't know. I knew many in the ecosystem, but there were lots of folks that I didn't know, you included, Jay. And during that time, we also undertook a really significant process around reviewing our programs, developing a new strategic plan, and ultimately having a business plan approved by our minister that allows us to move forward as an organization that continues to be focused on innovation, entrepreneurship, research, all of the things that Alberta Innovates has helped to contribute to over the many years. So I assumed that my job was done and it was time to transition to a permanent CEO. And the minister, the deputy minister, the board chair, and others over time convinced me that spending a few more years helping the organization really move from strategy to implementation would be a really interesting thing for me to undertake. And so they convinced me over a period of time. And I when I say convinced me, I wasn't. It wasn't because I wasn't interested in doing the work. It's because I really wanted to make sure that Alberta Innovates was best set up to move forward. And in the end, I guess I came to the conclusion that it was a good opportunity for me to help the organization, as I said, move from strategy to implementation. And that's where we are today. It's September of 2025. We spent the summer developing operational plans to support our strategic plan and business plan. And now we're ready to, in a sense, rock and roll and move things forward. And certainly, Jade, I'm happy to talk about the strategy and how I see those things unfolding over the next number of months and years.
And that's why we're having this conversation. And thanks for sharing a little history. And again, thank you for staying on and helping move our great province, even farther ahead, in my opinion, of all the other provinces in Canada. Not that you wish that, ill will on anybody, but we do a lot of great things here, and I think Alberta Innovates has done an amazing thing over a lot of years and spun out a lot of great things like Innotech, and we can go on and on. But I think change is good, and change was scary for people, and there was a lot of negativity floating around there. And that's probably the wrong word, maybe concern, whatever it may be, about, oh my God, things are changing, what's happening, everything's going. So, how was handling that and really talking to people, like, again, you and Minister Glubish and Janak and everybody was out there reaching out, talking and saying, no, it's going to be better, it's going to be better. So kind of maybe talk a little bit about that before we get into what has changed.
Sure, you bet. Yeah, so I mean, as you said, Jade, change is not an easy thing, and certainly I've been through many changes myself as a leader and also as a it's a kind of soldier when I was a faculty member and teaching and conducting research. But I would say in my various experiences over the course of many years, I've come to recognize that change is inevitable. That change is an important part of living and of organizations and ecosystems growing and developing. And so if I look all the way back to 1921, when the first president of the University of Alberta started what is now Alberta Innovates, he started it because he really felt there should be a better connection between the University of Alberta, Alberta's only university at the time, and the business community. And so from 1921, fast forward to 2025, over 100 years, that commitment to that relationship between innovation and research and the ecosystem of business, and now, a much more sort of advanced world of startups and the like, remains a commitment within the context of Alberta Innovates. And so the change part is related to the fact that the world continues to change, right? So when we had our previous strategic plan and business plan, prior to the one we have now, the world was at a certain point in time. Fast forward to where we are today, the growth of the tech sector, the growth of the ecosystem that we all celebrate as something that is unique to Alberta has been dramatic. And so it's important for Alberta Innovates, therefore, to change with the times, in a sense, right? And to make sure that we are lined up as effectively as possible with the priorities of the provincial government, with the priorities of business and industry, with the priorities of our post-secondary community, et cetera. And that's really what that change process has been about. It's not been easy, for sure, and I've had to have lots of conversations across the province to ensure that folks understand the why behind the work that we're doing to ensure that we move forward. And so I've spent time in Medicine Hat and in Calgary, of course, and Edmonton and Red Deer and Grand Prairie, really speaking with the folks that are on the ground doing the work that is so important to help move our province forward. And really the conversation has been about listening to the aspirations that the community has and ensuring that Alberta Innovates, it lines up to support those aspirations. And those aspirations then, sort of roll up into the aspirations of a province and a provincial government. And so part of my role as CEO is to help us find the sweet spot between the aspirations of the community, the aspirations of a provincial government, and the reality of our economic context within Alberta. And that's really what the work has been about.
And you've done a fantastic job. And I not only but I think all of us appreciate the fact that you were out there and everybody was out there taking those questions, listening to people, talking to people, finding out what does and doesn't work, or what needs tweaking, or what needs to be canned for whatever reason. And I think that was very important to kind of listen to everybody that, have been saying things for years and years and years. And, not going to say it falls on deaf ears, but it just kind of just kept moving, in the same direction. And again, I'm a big proponent of change. I think change is good. And some of the things that you guys are doing, like IP strategy and things along those lines. When you brought Jim Basili in, and I was lucky enough to be in the room on that, and having those strategies, which some of us have been trying to bring up at the university level for years and years and years, and seen certain deals fall through because of, I don't want to say stubbornness, maybe lack of education. So I think some of the stuff that you guys are doing is absolutely fantastic, and I love where we're heading. So why don't you share some of the great things that are going to be happening here in the foreseeable future?
Yeah. So the process that we undertook, which started with the program review, was really important, because really what it did was it really underscored where we were knocking it out of the park. The TDAs would be a really good example. The folks that are on the ground supporting those that are brand new in this world, those that are moving forward a little more successfully, et cetera. But there are other program areas and things that we were delivering that were pretty stale dated, to be honest, Jade. They were things that we've been doing for quite some years, and we really hadn't taken the time to step back and say, okay, what should we continue? What should we discontinue, et cetera? That then informed how we came up with our strategic plan. The other thing that also informed us was the many conversations we had, and the things that we heard quite consistently are, we love Alberta Innovates, we love what it does, but we think it's a little antiquated in certain areas. We think, the grants program needs to be a little more innovative and a little more tied to technology, AI. We think that some of the programs, as I said, need to be sunsetted. And we also know that there are areas that we should be doing more work in. And so in the end, the strategy that we came up with was focused on three simple goals. The first one is to improve access to supports to entrepreneurs and innovators. And so really, that's about all of the different ways that we connect with our entrepreneurs and our innovators to make sure that they have the level of support and the type of support that they need. And so re-looking at how we've been doing this and making sure that as we go forward, that we provide a robust set of experiences and supports for that community. The second is to focus on commercialization and scaling companies. And this is where the work around IP, the work around how do we move, help individuals and small companies move from, a very mom and pop sort of place they're at into much more full-scale commercialization. How do we help and support and encourage our university researchers that have great ideas that need to be commercialized that aren't being commercialized at this point in time? How do we help drive IP in Alberta so that we are much better at both creating IP, protecting IP, and frankly, using the benefits of IP? And so that IP piece is very important. And also, how do we fund what we do going forward? And so historically, we have looked at funding from a grants perspective primarily, and this will continue, but we also are really interested in looking at how do we develop strategic partnerships so that we can be much more sort of robust in how we build the ecosystem, and potentially the opportunity for us to co-invest in companies that are at that stage where investment is really important. The co-investment piece is still in exploration, and there would need to be legislative changes, et cetera, but it's certainly a possibility. And then the third goal is to change how we do business so that we deliver what we deliver in the best form possible, and that we are very focused on partnerships and collaboration. And so the ethos of Alberta Innovates going forward will be very much about collaboration, about ensuring that we are not needing to be front and center in all that we do, that we're actually sometimes behind the scenes helping to drive things forward, to give those that are in the front the leg up that they need. Those three simple goals will help drive what we do going forward, and in 4 areas of focus, some of which are continuations and some of which are relatively new. The first is applied digital and emerging technologies, and of course that's everything from AI to quantum and you name it. And we have funded a ton in this area, but we've never named it as one of our priority areas. And so going forward, it's one of our 4 priority areas. The second is advanced materials, defense, and aerospace. And this is a newly articulated area for us. We have been funding in the advanced materials area and the aerospace area for a number of years. But with the evolution of these areas, in addition to what's going on from a defense perspective, it became clear to us that this should be a priority for Alberta Innovates, and the province and the country have set this as these areas as a priority. The third is natural resource recovery. And so this is everything from, of course, our traditional support and work in the oil and gas industry to critical minerals and hydrogen, et cetera. And so that area will continue. And then the fourth area is a reconceptualization of health to One Health, and having a focus on health, agriculture, and life sciences is an intertwined and integrated approach to a One Health concept, which is really about saying, how do we ensure that our communities are as healthy as possible by looking at the interrelationship between human health, animal health, environmental health, and the like. So those 4 areas will help us determine priorities as we move forward. Of course, they're pretty broad. So applied digital and emerging technologies, for example, you can fit a lot under that. And of course, they're cross-cutting, and they're purposefully cross-cutting. And so we know, for example, from an AI perspective, many of the solutions in health will have an AI component to them. Many of the solutions as it relates to advanced materials, defense, and aerospace will have an AI component or a quantum component, et cetera. So what we're hoping to be is far less siloed in terms of how we do what we do, in terms of funding and supports, and far more cross-cutting, because the world is cross-cutting. The world is an integrated world. It's not a world where we have silos of activities and everybody kind of stays in their lane. The lanes are blurring, and so what we want to do at Alberta Innovates is to ensure that we can be supportive of the blurred lanes that are helping to drive innovation. One of the conversations I had down in Lethbridge with a young woman who's very involved in the gaming and animation world. She said to me, Mike, did you know you guys don't have a category of funding that I can apply for because I don't fit into the boxes that you presently have at Alberta Innovates? And that has really stuck with me, this notion of us having boxes that you have to fit into. And so what we hope to see going forward is that the boxes that we have are a bit more blurred in terms of the sort of framing of things, so that we create more opportunities for those that may fall in between the boxes that we presently have opportunities to seek support from Alberta Innovates. It'll be a work in progress, of course, over the next few years, but I'm very optimistic that we will find the sweet spot to make sure that we are providing the maximum amount of support to all those that are doing the great work in the innovation space going forward.
Those are 3 great goals and 4 great points. And I love that. Again, I'm talking with Mike Mahon, the CEO of Alberta Innovates. For more information on Alberta Innovates, if you want to ask a question, throw it here. Mike can answer the questions after if we don't get to them, or just go to the website, click on it in the comment section. It'll take you directly there. The one thing that I do love, and I want to touch on that, is the blurriness of it. I love it. I mean, people might say, oh my God, they're just going to, they just want to, find a way to say no. But I think that's a way of actually enhancing things. And I think that's a great example that you brought up. I mean, I was just at Bow Valley College and I had a tour, with, thank you very much, Stan Peake, the new entrepreneurial gentleman there. And I got to see the gaming area. I got to sit down in it. I got to try it. I got to go into the movie studio. I actually got to sit in the director's chair. I got lucky that they were shooting something. And for someone like myself, who's been around for, maybe too long in some people's eyes, I didn't know of all the stuff that's going on there. And I was like, holy shit, this is really good stuff. And I can imagine all the people coming out of that area that would like you said, well, where do I get help? Where do I go? So I think blurriness is a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think what we've tried to create a sort of a sense of opportunity, so boundaries related to that, but not to be so strongly framed in areas that we don't enable those things that are emerging that really don't, as I said a few minutes ago, fit into the boxes. And so, I know on the one hand that may be troublesome for folks that like to see things very clearly articulated. And so we will have a clear articulation of where those opportunities lie, but we're going to be more open to looking at opportunities that may not be as clear cut in terms of where they are positioned. And that, that will come with, the conceptualizing how our grants program is administered so that we have a more robust means of engaging with as many different individuals as possible. And frankly, I do think, and in fact, we started this work already, AI will be an enabler for us to make sure that we're faster and more responsive to those initial inquiries, and we're able to wayfind through AI for individuals so that they can be successful in engaging with us and frankly, learning much quicker whether there's a fit for what they're interested in doing in Alberta Innovates. And one of the things I've heard from folks in the community is you guys take too long to tell us that we're either successful or not successful. And so part of what I want to see us be is far more responsive and frankly quicker at ensuring that we engage with those folks that want to understand how they might partner with us or how they might seek funding from us.
No, and we're getting some, after you mentioned the co-investing thing, a few people have been jumping into the comments here saying, hey, well, I'm quite interested in that. And maybe I'll let you get to that one in the comment section after, because I'm sure we can talk about, that's probably another session, down the road here in January.
Yeah, and it's just, I want to be clear that this is a conversation that the minister is having, that the deputy minister is having, that I'm having, that Christina is having at AAC. And it's really a conversation about how do we best support the evolving community of folks that are trying to build Alberta's economy, and think about how our funding can best be used to support those activities. And as I said, historically, we've been primarily a grants-focused entity. And so this may be an opportunity if the decision is made, and this is really, in the end, this is a decision for Nate and his colleagues to make, and for me to, as well as Christine and others, to help operationalize. But there's certainly, as I've floated this with different folks in the community, there's lots of interest in this approach. And so it's certainly one that I think deserves further consideration.
No, and then when you talk to the acts, Robert Irvin made a comment on here, about metrics. And I mean, I would love to get into metrics and talk, but we would probably take up the rest of our time. So, again, I'll, after, Mike, you can run in the comment section and answer a couple of these questions for the people. But yeah, I mean, I truly believe, like when you say the blurriness and how the investment is going to work out, you've got smart people, from the top down, right from the premier to Minister Glubish to Janak to everybody. And, we work with all of them across with the blockchain consortium. And I love the fact that, again, I love this blurriness comment. I mean, I'm gonna be using that every time I talk about Alberta Innovates now, because something coming out of a life science is very strategic, very IP, very, very there. But everything else outside of that, it's there. You never know. We got gaming, we've got clean tech. We can go on and on and on about all
Yeah.
the great things that we have happening in our province, and nobody should be excluded because they're in a different sector.
Yeah, and I mean, it's both. I think it's both an opportunity, and it will be a challenge for us to operationalize. So I don't want to pretend like it's not going to be complicated or complex to be able to evolve the entity so that it is more open to cross-cutting kinds of activities. But if there's one thing I know, being one of the older guys on this conversation, I would say, is the world changes rapidly. And if we are not responding to the rapid changes, then we are not in the driver's seat. We're a passenger, and if that. And so this is the reason that we need to be more responsive to the evolution of the innovation system that is changing so rapidly. And a year ago, as an example, when I first started these conversations, defense was not something people were talking about. 12 months later, look at what has happened in the world, and look at what Canada needs to now think about in order to be able to protect our country. And so that has sparked all sorts of new activity around how aerospace and advanced materials and defense can become part of this expression of innovation. And that's just one example of how rapidly the world changes, and how rapidly, therefore, we have to be responsible to the changing world.
Oh yeah, the world's moving fast,
It
and
is.
at an unpredicted.
Yeah, I mean,
you never know what's going to happen tomorrow.
It's head spinning, in all honesty, right? And so
Yes.
I mean, one of the things that I've thought about a lot over the last number of months is, when you're in these head spinning times where it's really, you get up in the morning, you don't know what the world's going to look like that morning. The answer is not to sort of just put our heads in the sand and hope that things get better. The answer is to be part of the solution. And so part of why I agreed to continue to work with Alberta Innovates for a while, and with the provincial government and all of you folks, is because I want to be helpful. I want to help us be part of the solution for Alberta. And, I have been in Alberta now for 25 years, 25 and a half years. I have 6 grandkids in Alberta now, and I want this province to continue to grow and evolve. And so I think all of us have to be part of the solution for how Alberta continues to evolve with the rapidly changing world.
And that's one thing that I've loved about what I've seen in the last few years, is everything is about what's good for Alberta, and what's good for our kids and our grandkids, and we want our people to stay here, and I really do see that. And I think the changes that are coming are number one, necessary. I think are very positive. I'm excited about what's next. So now, speaking about that, maybe a little short term here. We've talked about a lot. What's next for Alberta Innovates? Maybe in the next year or so.
Yeah, so we are rapidly moving from having a strategy to putting that strategy into life. And so behind the scenes this summer, all of our senior leadership team have been developing operational plans that we'll present to the board in September for their information. And then those will be brought to life in all of the areas that I just talked about. And so we will be, pretty quickly ending different programs that we've identified as just being time for them to sunset. And we will be, reframing our budget in relation to being able to move forward. We have a bit of a haircut in terms of our budget this year, and so we have to do some work to make sure that we can align the resources that we have with the priorities that we've set out in our strategic plan. And so the operationalization will be where we focus over the next year. a big part of that, Jade, will be to get back out into the community and talk about how we want to do this, but how others in the community see us moving forward. And so it'll continue to be an iterative process between myself and the Alberta Innovates team and all of you. And so in September, for example, we are hosting an event in Calgary and one in Edmonton to really start to go back to this conversation mode to make sure that we are building together Alberta Innovates, the next version of Alberta Innovates that supports this strategy. And so, it'll be more conversations. It will then lead to new programming that will support the strategy. And that new programming will be, I would say, something that will evolve over the next 12 to 18 months. And so you won't see boom in September, 15 new programs. You'll see the conversation that will lead to, what do we need in the applied digital space that we don't have presently? Where should we go from an aerospace and defense perspective? What kind of programming and funding should we put in place there? Where are the opportunities in health to help support the evolution of our health system? So, as an example, I've met with all 4 of the CEOs of the new health entities and a number of the deputy ministers to say, how can Alberta Innovates be helpful as our health system evolves? And so those many conversations will be what will continue, that will begin to then fuel new programming, new opportunities coming out of Alberta Innovates.
And I mean, I got goosies, right? I mean, I'm excited, like for what's next and what's coming. And
you're the only person that has ever said after I said something that you got goosebumps. So that you just made my day, Jade. So thank you.
Oh God, that's awesome. Well, it's true though, right? I'm very positive. I can't wait for what's next. I'm always a forward-looking type of person, and truly believe change is good. And then that's not just for Alberta Innovates or our province. It's for our life. It's for someone going to university. It's for going to grade 10. Like there's just it's always new. It's always exciting, and what's next is always it's that puts that glimmer in my eye.
Well, as I documented earlier, I've been in the education realm for a lot of years, and for me, the fall is a very exciting time because it means we've had a little rest over the summer, and the energy just starts to mount in September as we all kind of come back from vacation and start thinking about how we move things forward. And every year I would meet with all of the new students who are there to start their next phase of life. And it was so inspiring to talk to these young people and to hear the ideas they had that they really wanted to bring to life through their education and their various experiences. And as I have moved out of that realm and into this realm, I still see that wonderful opportunity to think about the fall as that new beginning that really gets us moving in new directions, but also builds upon the past, builds upon the experiences that we've had. And so September for me is a very exciting month. And I looked at my calendar this morning, got a little tired looking at my calendar this morning in terms of what September looks like, but it's also at the same time inspiring because you're going to have so many fantastic conversations with folks about how we continue to work together.
Well, and then nothing got you more pumped up than looking at, holy gosh, I got to go on telling it like it is.
Exactly.
That's a way to start
Absolutely. The month. You got it.
Well, I'm always sad when our conversations come to an end because they inspire me. They inspire all of our listeners, and having people who haven't met you. And if you haven't met Mike, you got to get out there. And if he's at an event, stop in, shake his hand, say hello. But the last question that I have for you, and I'm just going to put a little spin on it. Well, if an entrepreneur wants to get, wants to engage with Alberta Innovates, where do they start?
Well, they can start with me. If they don't know where else to start, they can send me an email, and I will connect them with the individual that would be the best fit. They can certainly go on the website and see that, you know, the individuals that are, say, in the ag space or the IT space, they're listed on the website. But sometimes it's not as easy to determine who to connect with. And so I have said every time I've been with groups and individuals, send me an email and I'll make sure that the wayfinding happens. And ultimately what you will see in the coming months is, I would say, a more robust wayfinding mechanism through our website and our AI endeavors to make sure that it's as easy as possible to find the person that they want to talk to. But I mean, I'll say my email, I'll read it out. So it's mike.mahon, MAHON, @albertainnovates.ca. And if you have questions and can't figure out who to connect with, you can always connect with me.
I love that. CEO that puts his email out there is shows the drive, shows the passion, shows everything that I truly believe you, Minister Glubish, Janak, and all the support that you get stand for. And I thank you for taking on this endeavor. I thank you for coming on here and talking about what's next and all the exciting things that are going to happen at Alberta Innovates. The people love it. I love it. And I can't wait for the next, 3 days to 3 years to 30 years, what's going to happen in this great province.
You and I both. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Thank you, Jade, for inviting me on. It's been fun, and it's always fun just to chat with you. So thanks just for the opportunity to do that in a more kind of public venue, but we can also meet for breakfast sometime as well.
Well, I love our breakfast meetings, and after our little pre-conversation there, I think we might have to maybe have our next Telling It Like It Is on a fishing boat somewhere, pulling in a few
Yes,
walleye.
I do remember when you sent me a note about my picture on LinkedIn where I'm holding that beautiful walleye, and my team has at one point suggested I needed a more professional picture on LinkedIn, and then more recently they said, no, actually we like the picture of you and the walleye, so they've let me keep it on LinkedIn, I'll say.
Oh, I love it. It grows on you, right? I don't know anybody else that has it out there, and that's why I noticed it right away. The first thing I do is I zoom in on the fish. I'm not even looking what you look like. I'm looking at the fish. It was
a beautiful fish.
Like, this guy's solid if he's got a walleye in his hand.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate your time today, Mike. Thank you again. For everybody, Mike will come in, look at any of these questions after the fact. Thank you for being on here. Thank you for your questions. If you need anything, reach out. I mean, I'll be getting back out there. I look forward to, seeing everybody again after some well-deserved time off. And yeah, I'm guessing we will chat soon. Again, thank you very much, Mike. And we'll be seeing you on the path.